I said, I was 20 years old. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I loved the opportunity that I saw in real estate. And the reason I got my real estate license was because my husband was self-employed and my mom was self-employed. And I saw the freedom and the flexibility that they had. And when I say freedom and flexibility, I don't mean that they were just off, having fun all the time, but they had the freedom to choose when they were going to work, how they were going to work, how they were going to operate their businesses. And I really was attracted to that. And then in addition, I saw that there was a direct correlation between the amount of effort that I was going to put in and the results, aka the income that I got in comparison to maybe your traditional, 9 to 5 salary paid position. And so I had always been really, really driven, very motivated and determined. I was a former college soccer player. And so with real estate, I knew that I wanted to hit the ground running. But again, I'm 23. I'm brand new to a city. I do not know anyone in Nashville other than like my husband's friends who were broke musicians at the time. And so when I walked into my market center one day within the first week of getting my real estate license, there was a class being taught at Ignite by who's now a mentor of mine, a man named Joe Sheeran. And he was talking about for sale by owners. And in that moment, like the light bulb went off for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect opportunity for me. I don't know anyone, I don't have a large sphere of influence to call. I don't really like, generating leads on social media. That wasn't really my thing. And these are people who are raising their hand and they're saying, I want to sell my house. I just had to show them the value in hiring me. And so I got to work and I started calling for sale by owners. Again, within the first week of getting my real estate license, I just picked up the phone and I started calling them. It was not pretty. I didn't know what to say. I had 0 scripts memorized at that time, but I picked up the phone and I just started calling. Within the first week of getting my real estate license, I listed my very first for sale by owner home. And then fast forward that year, my very first year in real estate, I sold 36 homes, 30 of which were for sale by owners. And then in my second year of real estate, I sold 104 homes, and about 50% of those were for sale by owner listings. And so to date, now that I've been in the business for several years, I've now listed and sold over 300 homes, about 160 of which have been for sale by owner listings. So I feel really, really grateful to have found a niche in an industry that can be very challenging. And today I am here to share a lot of what I have learned with you so that hopefully you can change the trajectory of your business and your life. The success that I have found specifically with for sale by owners has led and opened doors in my life that I never really even thought were possible. My husband and I purchased our first home in April of 2020. We now own 8 investment properties. We took off a year to travel the country and we bought an RV and just took off and traveled. And we have the freedom, the flexibility to choose, what we want to do and how we want to live our lives. And we're building a legacy for our family and for future generations. And I really believe that you can too. So my hope for you in taking this class today is that you would be able to implement what you've learned. And there's going to be a lot of good information in here. It's those that choose to implement it that are going to see results. And you have to take consistent action. Now, whether you want to make for sale by owners your main source of income like I had, or you're someone who's like, you know what, I'm happy with my production. However, I would love to add a couple of transactions to my pipeline every single quarter or every year. There's no wrong answer. I think for sale by owners are great for so many reasons. So at the end of the course that we'll teach today, like James mentioned, you will have an opportunity to sign up for the 3-week master course. Which will be a little bit more in-depth version of what we cover today. However, there is so much value just in what we'll cover today. I've had folks that have called me and said, hey, I listed my very first for sale by owner home just as a result of taking this free 60-minute class. So I hope that you get a lot of value. And like I said, I'll tell you more about the master class at the end. So let's start off by talking about why pursue for sale by owners. But even before we do that, I want to make sure that if we are choosing for sale by owners as a lead generation source, we are adhering to the TCPA Act and the do not call list. We have to follow the do not call list. Now, if you have specific questions about the do not call list, you'll need to reach out to your broker about that. All right, let's talk about why pursue for sale by owners. There's several main reasons why I think for sale by owners are a great lead generation source. Number one, it takes very little money. Like I said, I was a broke 23 years old. A broke 23-year-old. I barely had, a dime to my name when I started pursuing for sale by owners, and it doesn't cost anything. You can get all of your for sale by owner leads on Zillow. It's absolutely free. Number two, it takes very little time. I make all of my for sale by owner calls within about 1 hour per day. I'll call for sale by owners between 8 and 8:30 in the morning, all the new for sale by owners. And then from about 8:30 to 9 o'clock is when I do all my follow up with for sale by owners. So about an hour per day. Now, of course, if I have time in the afternoon or the evening, might make a few more phone calls at that point, but it really does not take a whole lot of time. And you're not having to, send out mailers or host events. Not that any of those things are bad, but it's just a very affordable and simple way to create business. Number three, they're very easy to find. These are listings, again, that are raising their hand. They're on Zillow. You can find them also on Craigslist, on Facebook Marketplace, for salebyowner.com. Although Zillow is honestly the primary source in which I get my for sale by owner leads, but they're really easy to find, okay? And then lastly, they are a motivated, quick sale. Now, of course, again, not all for sale by owners are motivated, but again, these are people who are raising their hand. They're saying, I want to sell my house. They're also a quick sale. I've listed for sale by owners, one day and had or called them one day, listed them the next day or 2 days later, and gotten a contract within 2 weeks and a closing, 4 to 6 weeks later. So if you're someone, again, who's coming to the end of a quarter, end of a month, and you're like, man, I just haven't hit my goals yet, for sale by owners are a great source of business for that. Let's talk a little bit about mindset. So when I sat down and I started to think about, all the reasons that I have had success with for sale by owners, the very first thing that came to mind for me was the mindset that I have developed over the last several years. And that is the mindset that I am unstoppable. A mentor in my life said something that really stuck out to me one time. And it was, if you want to learn from a successful person, don't ask them what they do, ask them how they think. And my mindset when I go on an appointment with a for sale by owner is that I am the very best real estate agent in Middle Tennessee. And if someone chooses not to work with me, then they're missing out on the superior service that I can offer them. So let's talk a little bit about some of the problems or let's talk about some for sale by owner facts that I think are going to inspire you and kind of boost your mindset around for sale by owners. All right, so number one is that in my experience, 80% of for sale by owners will list their home with a real estate agent within the first 3 weeks of listing their home on the market for sale by owner. That's really quick, right? And that's been my experience. Sometimes I will call a for sale by owner. I'm the very first person to call them the first day that they listed their home on the market, and they list with me within 2 days after they had listed their home for sale by owner, or sometimes even that same day. I think that a lot of for sale by owners get overwhelmed very quickly with the number of real estate agents that are reaching out to them. They also realize, oh man, this is a little bit harder than I thought it was. I don't know if I have time for this. They get overwhelmed and they realize, maybe I do need the help of a professional after all. So my takeaway from this is, do not wait to call them. Call them immediately. Again, I make all my phone calls starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. Number two, according to the National Association of Realtors, the median sales price for sale by owners is 15% less than homes that are listed by professional real estate agents. That means that a for sale by owner can list their home with you and still save a very large percentage by listing their home with you in comparison to selling their home by owner. Number three, FSBOs attract less than 10% of buyers in the marketplace. When was the last time that you met with a buyer and they told you what they wanted? They were looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath home in Nashville. And you said, okay, great. I'm just going to go on Zillow. I'm going to search through all the for sale by owner listings and I'm going to see what inventory is out there for you. Probably not. Now, of course, we want to find our buyers the home that they're looking for, whether that be, on the MLS or for sale by owner listing. But most of the time we find what we're looking for. Our clients find the home that they're looking for on the MLS. So there's a very small percentage of buyers that are looking specifically for sale by owner homes. Typically, they are either unqualified looky-loos who are, can't get a mortgage and are looking to, ask the owner to finance the home for them or rent it out to them, or they are bottom feeders, investors who are looking to buy the home for 10 cents on the dollar. Number four, they are the absolute fastest way to make a sale in this industry, probably along with expireds. I once met with a for sale by owner on a Monday morning, or called them on a Monday morning, met with them that night. They signed a listing agreement with me. I had the home photographed the next morning. I had it listed within 24 hours, and we received a cash offer for full price, and we closed 2 weeks later. So they are, again, just a really, really quick source of business. Let's talk about some of the problems that for sale by owners face that I think will help to really boost our mindset around for sale by owners and the value that we can provide to them. Because I think one thing that we forget when we prospect to for sale by owners, expireds, people in general, we tend to not really consider all of the value that we provide as real estate agents. So if you wouldn't mind, put it in the chat. What are some of the things, some of the ways that we can provide value and some of the problems that for sale by owners face? Knowledge of the market, safety, disclosures, pricing, not in the MLS, seller disclosure. The amount of problems that I'm seeing in the chat is overwhelming, right? There are so many things that we can help for sale by owners: negotiating, pre-qualifying buyers. So the main ones that I wrote down were lack of exposure in marketing, dealing with bargain hunters, dealing with unqualified buyers, right? How do they really know who's qualified and who's not? Negotiating skills. I have seen a ton of for sale by owners who have accepted offers with home sale contingencies without a 48-hour kickout clause or a right of first refusal because they had no idea that such a thing even existed. And they're still getting interest on their home, but they can't do anything about it because they don't have any right of first refusal or kickout clause, right? Legal liability, security concerns. This is not their full-time job, so they're not going to have the time to manage, showings, to speak with the different realtors, the inspectors, the appraisal, the lender, right? It's very time consuming. Not to mention they don't have the contacts that we have. We have a whole network of people that we partner with to ultimately get to the closing table, whether that be, again, home inspectors, good title companies, contractors. There's a lot, right? And then I always bring up too, just being, uninvolved emotionally. Like, there's such an emotional attachment when it comes to selling your home, and we can oftentimes be a third party who wants to partner with them to help them achieve their goals, but we don't have that heightened sense of emotion that they do. And then there's so much paperwork involved in the transaction. They don't have access to it. They don't know how to fill it out. There's so much, right? So I just want to just really emphasize that our mindset when we call a for sale by owner, it's not them doing us a favor by allowing us to list the home. It's us doing them a favor and helping them to achieve their goals because there's so much value that we provide. All right, so I want to tell you a story about the very first for sale by owner home that I ever listed. Again, it was my first week as a realtor. I did not have business cards at this point. I did not have signs. I had no scripts memorized, nothing, right? So I went on to Craigslist and I found a for sale by owner. His name was Duncan Phillips. He was a for sale by owner in Franklin, Tennessee, right outside of my apartment complex. And so I picked up the phone and I called him again. I don't know what the heck I'm doing at this point. And I said, hey, I'm calling for the owner of the home on 224 Maple. And he said, that's me. And I said, my name's Emily Peckham. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. I saw that you had the home listed for sale by owner. Do you need any help selling it? He said, no, I'm good. And I said, okay, well, I'll just call you back, tomorrow or the next day and see if you have any questions for me. So I called him back the next day. Hey, Mr. Phillips, it's Emily Peckham. I was just calling. I wanted to check in and see if you had thought of any questions for me or if you need any help selling your home. He said, nope, I don't need any help. So this became a joke between the two of us. I would literally call him every single day. Mr. Phillips, it's me again. Do you need any help selling your home? And he'd say, nope, but I'm sure you'll call me tomorrow. And I said, you betcha, I sure will. I pick up the phone, and it just went on and on. And so finally I ended up offering to host an open house for him. And he agreed to let me do that. So I hosted the open house, and I called him afterwards. I shared the results with him, which weren't anything special, lots of nosy neighbors and looky-loos. And I said, hey, I think it's time that we meet, and I'd love to tell you about how I can get your home sold for you. He said, all right, fine. So I met him and his wife, and I am on my way to the appointment. I am so nervous. Again, I've never met with anyone before. This is my first week or so as a real estate agent. And I probably spent 3 hours putting together some PowerPoint. No, I don't have any more. Again, it was nothing special. And I go and meet with them, and they agree to list their house with me. And my hand is like literally shaking as I go to sign the listing agreement. I get in my car, I drive straight back to my market center, and I'm like, all right, guys, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, now how do I sell this house, right? So the point is, I did not have some awesome script memorized. I didn't have a great listing presentation. I had no follow-up plan other than just pick up the phone and call every single day. But I took action. And I think sometimes the difference between someone that's going to have success with anything, and specifically with for sale by owners, is someone that is going to take consistent action, right? So let's talk about some tips for calling for sale by owners. Tip number 1 is just pick up the phone and call them. And people will ask me, well, Emily, I just have so much fear around calling for sale by owners. What would your advice be to me? Have the fear and do it anyways, right? Like, I don't know how to tell you to get over the fear. All I can say is when I first started calling for sale by owners, I was anxious too. It's okay, do it anyways. And I can promise you that if you choose to be consistent, calling the for sale by owners 5, 6, 7 days a week for 30 to 60 days, you're going to get over the fear very quickly. All right, tip number 2 is get used to being told no. Do you really think the for sale by owner listed their home on Zillow so that they could hear from 30, 40, 50 real estate agents a day asking them if they needed help? No. Not every for sale by owner is going to be, the happiest person in the world when you pick up and call them. But in my experience, I think for sale by owners kind of get a bad rap. Honestly, most of them that I talk to are extremely pleasant. They just get overwhelmed with the number of phone calls that they're getting. I compare it to us as real estate agents getting phone calls from insurance agents trying to sell us insurance. I mean, I probably get like 1 every day or 2, and I find that annoying. Imagine how they're feeling, right? So get used to being told no. It's going to happen, and in each no is a chance for us to get further along in the conversation. It's a chance to study our process and to improve our craft, and I can promise you that a yes is not far away. All right, tip number 3 is to use a dialer or have a good way of tracking your leads. Again, if you are using a dialer, please make sure that you are adhering to the TCPA and do not call list. And if you're not using a dialer, that's perfectly fine too. That is actually how I started out. I did not use a dialer when I first started calling, just because of cost. If you don't have a dialer, I'd recommend having some type of call tracking sheet. And so I would recommend having like an Excel sheet on your computer that has their name, their phone number, their email address, notes of your most recent conversation, and when you need to call them next. All right. Number 4 is be enthusiastic. So I recommend that you make every single phone call standing up in front of a mirror, smiling and ready to go. I promise you that it is going to make a difference in the way that you speak and that you present yourself. I once called a gentleman, his name was Mr. Tim Lane, and he was not a for sale by owner. I was circle prospecting, and probably 1 out of every 10 people that I called either hung up on me or just didn't really have very nice things to say. And so I get it. Cold calling is not always fun. So when Tim answered the phone, I smiled and I said, "Hey, Mr. Lane, this is Emily Peckham with Keller Williams. How are you today?" And turns out Mr. Lane had a home to sell, and about 3 weeks later, he listed his home with me. And he called me a couple weeks after that, and he said, "Emily, the reason that I listed my home with you is because when you called, I could tell that you were smiling. You had enthusiasm for what you were doing, And that excited me in comparison to all the other real estate agents that have called me throughout the last several years. So I know that we always hear like cold calling is dead and it's the old way of doing business. And I get it. Again, it's not always fun. But if you are going to choose to call for sale by owners or do any form of cold calling for that matter, stand out by having excitement and enthusiasm for what you do. All right, so the next tip for you is to dress for success. So imagine that it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You decide today's the day I'm going to call for sale by owners. You roll out of bed at 7:30. You go to log onto your computer. Your eyes are barely open. You've not had any coffee. You're dressed in your sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and you're like, all right, here we go. I said that today I was going to call the FSBOs. Here goes nothing. All right, now the reverse. You wake up at, I don't know, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. You spend time, focusing on gratitude and affirmations. You've had a cup of coffee. You're dressed, ready to go on an appointment. If you set an appointment with a for sale by owner, which do you think you're going to show up better? Probably the latter, right? Now, I get it. I have a 13-month-old daughter. She's been waking up at 5 o'clock for the last 6 to 8 weeks. I understand that life happens, right? But when you can make an effort to be prepared and ready to go, dress professionally for these phone calls. And then the last thing is to have a conversation. I know this probably sounds like a funny tip. What I mean by that, I think that when you listen to me, and James and I are going to role play a conversation here in a second, but when you listen to me talk to a for sale by owner, it just sounds like I'm having a conversation with a friend. Now, what that doesn't mean is that you can just, say anything. You have to have your scripts memorized. I'm going to give you the script that I use for sale by owners. In every conversation, you're going to hear the same basic things that I say, but it sounds like I'm having a conversation. I might take a minute to talk to, the for sale by owner about pickleball if they love pickleball. We're just going to have a conversation, right? And it sounds very natural. The only reason that it sounds natural is because the amount of time and effort I have put into memorizing my scripts and having these conversations. All right. So speaking of memorizing scripts, memorizing your scripts is probably one of the most critical things that you can do if you want to have success with for sale by owners. When I first got my real estate license, I would spend at least an hour and a half to 2 hours practicing and memorizing my scripts every single day. I would practice for 30 minutes with a role play partner, and then I would practice at least an hour. I'd walk on the treadmill at my lunch break, and I would memorize my scripts. If this sounds overwhelming, it should. It is not an easy task, but if you want to have success with for sale by owners, you have to have your scripts memorized, okay? So my recommendation to you is that you would practice for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour per day, depending on your current skill level, all right? 30 minutes of that should be with a role play partner. My Facebook group, Emily Peckham's FSBO Mastermind Group, is a fantastic resource to find a script partner. And then I would practice 30 minutes on your own as well. All right, so we are ready to go through the script that I use to call for sale by owners. James, are you ready to be my partner?
I'm ready.
All right. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
James, this is Emily Peckham. I was calling about your home for sale.
Yeah, okay.
I'm probably like lucky number 10?
Something like that. My phone's been ringing a little bit.
I'm sure. I always joke with people. I'm like, what you don't realize when you list your home on Zillow as a for sale by owner, all the crazy real estate agents start calling. It's a beautiful home. Where are you moving to?
We're just moving to another neighborhood down the way a little bit. Want to be closer to our daughter's school.
Oh, okay. So not moving far, want to be closer to your daughter's school. Hey, James, I try not to sound like all of the rest of the real estate agents who are calling because I know you're getting a lot of calls. But I just wanted to ask you, if for whatever reason the home did not sell by owner, how long might you wait before you would interview an agent?
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty confident that we can sell it on our own. So I don't know. Maybe a few weeks if we still have it a few weeks from now, but we don't have a timetable that we'd reach out to an agent.
Okay. Hey, and I'm pretty confident you could probably, sell it on your own too. But you'd wait a couple weeks. If you're like most for sale by owners that I speak with, I'm guessing commission is the main reason that you had decided to list it for sale by owner.
I mean, part of it, we want to maximize what we can get out of this house to go put it in our next one. So yeah, we just want to take home as much as we can.
Hey, hey, I'm all about saving money too, so I completely appreciate that. Let me ask you this, James. If there was a way that I could show you that I could actually sell the property for you and net you more money than you could selling it by owner, even after my commission is paid, is that something that you'd be interested in just looking at?
I mean, how would you, I don't understand how you would do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. My presentation is visual. It takes 15 or 20 minutes to go over. I have availability this afternoon. I could either meet with you at 4:30 or 6, which is better for you.
I mean, that's fine, but like I said, we're not really hiring an agent right now. We're gonna go sell this on our own.
Yeah, hey, I totally understand. And, I wouldn't expect you to list your home with me unless you felt absolutely confident that I was the right person for the job. Would 4:30 or 6 o'clock be better for you?
Um, I, I don't know. I mean, we're not hiring anybody, but if you want to stop by at 6 or whatever, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, hey, I will look forward to seeing you at 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and send you an email that has more information on me, past home sales, references, all that good stuff. And I'll look forward to meeting with you at 6 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, James.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you could have even been harder on me. I would have been okay with that.
Well, I have a question for you because I feel like, I mean, I didn't have a choice but to give you a time in the way you asked the question. And I feel like that probably happens a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and so then do you find that they keep the appointment or do you sometimes get a text later that says, hey, I thought about it. We don't really need you to stop by. Like what happens in a case like that?
Every once in a while, but I am, with a few things that I do, I'm going to get your email address, which I didn't do in this situation, but I would get your email address. I would send you a calendar invite. Immediately after we hung up the phone, I would also send you a text with my contact card and a YouTube video that has more information on me. I would also then send a text that said, hey, James, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm very excited to meet with you tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I continue to follow up with them, in between the time that we set the appointment and the time that we met. They might hear from me, 3 to 5 times, and it creates a very sticky appointment.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it did, and I was trying to be hard on you, but it just the script is so good that it just guides it down the path, right? And Paige is asking, I mean, you're not doing any sort of pre-qualification. This is your get the foot in the door, get face to face, and build relationship. You're not trying to list it right that second.
Yep,
Right,
exactly.
right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, of course, when we call a for sale by owner, I think we have a pretty great script that we're using. But most of the time, we're going to have to handle a couple of different objections when we meet with a for sale or when we call a for sale by owner, more often than not, right? And so first things first, I want to talk about the difference between a condition and an objection. A condition is a good thing. Yep, you heard me right. It is a good thing. Have any of you ever gone on an appointment before and someone just kept saying, yeah, that sounds good, or they didn't ask any questions, they didn't express any concerns, and you left the appointment and you're like, yeah, I just didn't really feel good about that. I've definitely gone on appointments like that. From personal experience, that is probably an issue. Generally, it means that they're not interested. Even if your prospect seems, abrasive, at least it means that he or she is emotionally interested or invested. So I want you to shift your mindset around an objection as a good thing. Objections simply mean that the prospect needs more information. And asking questions and expressing concerns is ultimately how they gather that information. So when they say, I need to think it over, what they're really saying is, I'm not yet convinced, I need additional information. Or when they say, I need to talk with my, my family member, my banker, my wife, my accountant, whoever it may be, what they're really saying is, I need approval and assurance. There's a difference between a condition and an objection. An objection is nothing more than an unanswered question. But the good thing is that it is something concrete, which can ultimately be addressed and overcome. However, on the other hand, a condition is an obstacle. A condition is a barrier or a situation that prevents a seller, a prospect from selling. Maybe they don't have any equity in the home and they would have to bring money to the closing table. Or, maybe they say, I cannot make a decision without my spouse. These are conditions that you just cannot remedy, even with the most brilliant presentations. So in the master course, one thing that we'll do is we'll cover the framework for handling any objection, because sometimes you get the most random of objections. However, most of the time, these objections that you see here on the screen are the main objections that you're going to get from a for sale by owner. And really the top 3 or 4 you're going to hear probably 90% of the time. So the main objections that I hear from for sale by owners, number 1, bring me a buyer. Number 2, I have a friend in the business. Number 3, check back with me later. Number 4, I don't need an agent. I can sell it myself, or I don't want to pay a commission. Would you agree with me that probably 90% of the time, for those of you that have called for sale by owners, these are the objections that you're going to get? And then a few others would be, you know, I'll just list it flat fee MLS. I've sold for sale by owner before. I already have an agent that I would list with, which is kind of similar to I have a friend in the business, or I just don't see how you could do that, right? Those are really pretty much all the objections, except unless they throw out just a complete curveball that you're ever going to get. So we only have time to cover 2, the top 2 today. I'll cover those 2 objections. And then in the master course, we'll cover the remainder of the objections. It'll actually give you multiple different objection handlers for every single objection. So number 1, bring me a buyer. A lot of times they'll say, you know, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a commission. My response to that would be, hey, I can certainly appreciate the fact that you're, you know, offering compensation to a buyer's agent. And what I'm hearing you say is that you're looking to save the additional 3% or X% that it would cost for you to hire me, right? And if you were as confident that by hiring me, you would actually more than make up for the difference in commission and net more money, you'd probably go ahead and do it, wouldn't you? Great. I've got availability at either 4:30 or 6 o'clock, which is better for you. And then I have a friend in the business. Who's heard this one before? Probably, like, again, top 2 objections that we're ever going to get. Hey, I can certainly appreciate that you have a friend in the business, and can we agree, Mr. For Sale by Owner, that the sale of your home is a business decision? In fact, it's probably one of the most one of the most important business decisions that you will ever make. And with a decision that big, most people that I talk to will interview at least 2 or 3 agents to make sure that you have the best agent representing you. Because at the end of the day, you don't owe me anything. You owe yourself the very best. Or excuse me, I messed this one up a little bit. You don't owe me anything. You owe your friend your friendship, and you owe yourself the very best. Why don't we sit down for just 15 or 20 minutes and I can show you why so many people choose me to sell their homes. All right, so again, we'll cover the remainder if y'all do decide to sign up for the master course. Let's move on and talk about follow-up. So follow-up is so important. Again, I think probably the top 3 reasons that I've had success with for sale by owners is the consistency that I have in calling them, and with follow-up, in the way that I've memorized my scripts and can build rapport with for sale by owners. So in 2020, I sat down after the end of that year and I took a look at my numbers, and I had some really big ahas. So that year, I sold over 100 homes. I sold 103, and 49 of those 103 were for sale by owners. Of those 49, 37 said yes to an appointment with me on the very first phone call. Of those 37, 25 agreed to list with me on the initial appointment. 12 of those 49 did not agree to meet with me on the first call, and they took more follow-up. And then of those 12, 5 eventually agreed to list with me at the initial appointment. The other 7 took more follow-up. And so let's just assume that I stopped with follow-up altogether. I didn't do any follow-up. I would have only listed 25 for sale by owner, listed and sold 25 for sale by owner homes that year. That year, my average commission was $9,000. That is $225,000 in GCI that I would have missed out on. That is a lot of money, right? So as you can see, so much of my success with for sale by owners has come from consistent follow-up. So we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, what do I say when I follow up? How often do I follow up? And I'll give you a couple different ideas and tips and tricks for follow-up that you can implement in your business. So first, regardless of whether or not I set the appointment with a for sale by owner, I'm always going to send them a text with my contact card. My contact card is filled out in my phone. It has my picture, it has my email, my work address, obviously my cell phone number, and then my social media handles. And I also send them a text with that contact card that says, hey, this is Emily Peckham. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. You and I just got off the phone. Please save my contact card. And that way, when I follow up with you as promised, you're gonna know that it's me and not one of the other 50 real estate agents that's been calling. I'm also gonna send a nice to meet you video, and I'll play that here for you in a second. And then second, my level of follow-up is really going to depend on how motivated the for sale by owner is. And we determine motivation by asking questions. So one thing that we'll cover in the master class, I'm going to give you a whole list of questions that you can ask for sale by owners to both build rapport with them and to determine their level of motivation. If they are highly motivated, someone that says, I got to move to South Carolina, I'm accepting a new job there and I need to be there in a month. That's probably someone who's probably pretty motivated. I'm going to follow up with them every day or every other day. Now, just because someone tells me that they're not motivated doesn't necessarily mean that they're truly not motivated. I mean, think about it. Do you think that a for sale by owner is going to take the time to list their home on Zillow, take pictures, get a gazillion calls from real estate agents if they're not at least a little bit motivated? Now, of course, on the flip side, if they listed their home, $100,000 above what it should be listed for, and they tell you that they're not going to budge on their price, they're probably not super motivated. Okay. So it takes practice and awareness to gauge someone's motivation. But let's start with a follow-up plan for someone that we determined to be motivated. We called them, we went through that script like I did with James, and maybe, for whatever reason, they just weren't quite ready to schedule an appointment with me. I'm going to first send them a nice to meet you video. Now you'll notice in this video that, this was not like professionally shot on a camera. I literally shot it on my iPhone. You could either make this video specific to that for sale by owner, so you could film one after every call. And the advantage of this would be it could be unique to their situation. So James, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me or to talk with me over the phone a second ago. Just wanted to introduce myself to you and put a face to the name. I know that you're wanting to move nearby, and I'm excited to follow up with you and see how I can help you in this. So this is what that might look like.
Hey, this is Emily Peckham with Keller Williams. I just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today over the phone. It was so nice to meet you, and below you will find my contact card. Go ahead and save me to your contacts. I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
All right. After that, I'm going to send them a video getting tired of the calls. Hey, it's Emily Peckham again. As I mentioned earlier, you're probably going to get a ton of phone calls from real estate agents. So if you need a script to get them off the phone, you can just tell them that when you list your home, it'll be with Emily Peckham of Keller Williams Realty. Have a wonderful day. This one I'll sometimes say to them over the phone too, like right before I hang up, hey, by the way, if you need a script to get all the rest of the real estate agents that call you today off the phone, you can just tell them that when you list your house, it'll be with Emily Peckham at Keller Williams. And that usually, again, like is another icebreaker. They almost always laugh and think it's funny. And some of them literally use that script as well. All right, and then the next day, so the contact card and the nice to meet you video, that would happen in these three videos that these two videos that I've showed you so far. Those would all be like immediately after you got off the phone with them, or maybe this getting tired of the calls video would be like 2 hours after you had called them. And then the next day, I would send them a video, a past client testimonial video. Now, what you'll notice about this video that I'm about to play for you, it's not a former for sale by owner. It's not even a seller. It's actually a buyer. Doesn't really matter. I send them videos from past clients, little testimonial videos. Again, you'll notice I didn't send the camera crew over to Allie's house to ask her to, film some video for me. Like, I just basically reached out to all my past clients and asked if they wouldn't mind, filming a 30-second or so video of their experience in working with me. So you could have, 10, 50, as many as you can create videos from past clients of their experience in working with you. If you didn't have a past client that you worked with, again, it doesn't have to be a for sale by owner. It doesn't even have to be a seller. You could also ask for a testimonial just maybe from a past employer. It's not that we're trying to convince the for sale by owner or make it seem like we had sold this person's house, but just a testimonial of their experience in working with you. So here's an example of that.
Hey there, my name is Allie, and I worked with Emily Peckham to buy the home that I live in now with my fiance. Working with Emily was such a joy. She was there anytime we had a question or an issue. She fought for us when we found our dream home, and there were, I think, 7 offers on it, and ours was picked, I think, in large part because of Emily's guidance. She is so kind and patient and just a wonderful person to work with. So if you are thinking about choosing her as your realtor in the Nashville area, I think that is going to be the best decision that you could make. Yeah, go Emily.
All right, so very, very simple, right? And that's something that you could implement immediately into your business. All right, so let me just pause this real quick. Okay, so that is kind of a really simple follow-up plan that you could implement. Now, one thing that we'll cover in the master course, I'm going to give you 2 45-day long follow-up plans that you could just implement, plug and play into your business. I'll also give you about 30 plus follow-up ideas that you could implement in your business as well. And then after this, again, I'm going to call them at least every day or every other day. I'm also going to be sending text messages. Typically, I do not leave a voicemail when I call them, at least when it comes to follow-up. I do leave a voicemail on the initial call if they did not pick up the phone. All I'm going to say is, hey, this is Emily Peckham. I was calling about your home for sale. Give me a call back when you can. And when it comes to follow-up, I typically do not leave a voicemail. And a lot of people will ask me, like, what do you say when you follow up with them? And it doesn't have to be this magic script. It's super, super simple. I just say, hey, it's Emily Peckham. You know, I called you the other day and I was just calling to check in, see how activity's been on the listing since we last spoke, or I might offer, you know, to do something for them, to create a flyer for them, or see if there's anything that they have questions about or need help with it. So please don't overcomplicate it. Call them, check in on them, see how things are going, ask them if they need any help, and always ask them if they're ready to meet with you and for you to show them how you could net them more money. Okay, so do not overcomplicate the follow-up process. And a text message might be, hey, this is Emily Peckham. We spoke a couple days ago. I was just calling or texting you to check in and see how things are going and if there's anything that I can do to help you. Okay. So it's not really so much what you're saying in the follow-up process, although again, I will give you, you know, plenty of ideas for follow-up and follow-up plans. It's really the important thing is about staying top of mind and being consistent in your follow-up, so that when it's you that's reaching out to them, they start to recognize that you're the person that's being consistent and following up with them. All right, so that is pretty much all that we have time for today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the master course that is happening. Starts next week on January 15th, and then we should have time for some questions at the end. So if you got value from today and you want to take this several steps forward, then you've got to sign up for the master class. The class is $300 and it's 3 sessions. Each are 2 hours long. It'll be January 15th, 16th, and the 22nd of January, each from 1 to 3 Eastern time or 12 to 2 Central time. I have put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this course and bringing it to life. It is literally everything that you could ever need to have success with for sale by owners and enlist as many for sale by owners as your heart desires. Session 1, we'll talk about mindset, gratitude, and affirmations. We'll talk about problems that for sale by owners face. We'll also talk about reasons for sale by owners list for sale by owner, because there's more reasons than just netting more money, and how can we cater our presentation to that. I'll also give you more tips for calling for sale by owners, tips for memorizing scripts, building rapport. I think this is one thing that really sets me apart from other real estate agents that call FSBOs, is the ability that I have to build rapport with them. I'll give you all the scripts that you could ever need, the FSBO call script. I'll give you all the different objection handlers that you would ever need. We'll talk about previews versus appointments. You'll get to watch videos of me calling for sale by owners, and I'll handle all the different objections that you would ever get. And then we'll also talk about the importance of follow-up. We'll answer and make sure that we're really, really clear on how often I'm following up. What am I saying during follow-up? I'll give you specific follow-up plans that you can implement into your business. It says 23, but it's actually about 30 follow-up ideas that I'll give you. And then we'll talk about the pre-qual script and the pre-qualification process. And then in session 3, we'll talk about the pre-listing presentation, what all it includes, what are the benefits, how do we deliver it. You'll get access to my listing presentation. I'll talk about how to prepare for the appointment, what to bring on the appointment. Again, you'll have that listing presentation script, and then I'll handle all the different objections that you might get during the listing presentation. And then we'll talk about follow-up after the appointment if you didn't get the appointment or didn't get the listing on the appointment. You'll also watch interviews that I have conducted with past clients of mine that were for sale by owners that ultimately listed their homes with me. I asked them questions like, what was the impression of the realtors, that were calling you? What led you to ultimately decide to list your home with me in comparison to anyone else? You'll get to watch, I think it's either 2 or 3 interviews with past clients. And then there's tons of downloads in the class. Again, all the scripts that you could ever need, my listing presentation, my pre-qual template that I send out before a listing presentation, my pre-listing presentation, rapport building questions. I mean, there's tons. There's probably more than you honestly even need to have success with for sale by owners. We've now had over 350 people take the class, and people are listing for sale by owners as a result of taking this class. If you were to take this class in my market, the average sales price or the median sales price is $420,000. If you were to list one for sale by owner, just based on the numbers in my market, you would 40x your investment by taking this class. So again, the price is $300. You can sign up at course.fsbofortune.com. It's January 15th, 16th, and the 23rd from 12 to 2 Eastern time. And then there is a self-paced version. If you wanted to take it, we won't offer that until after January 23rd. Everything will be recorded and you'll have lifetime access to the course materials. You'll also be able to email me at any point with any questions that you have on anything that we've covered. And then for those that have taken FSBO Fortune in the past, or graduates of this upcoming class, we're going to have a 3-month mastermind. Again, that's only open to folks who have gone through the course, and we'll do Q&A, we'll do script practice, we'll do interviews with other agents that are doing FSBOs at a high level, and I'll also pick different mastermind topics that we'll talk about. So we'll talk about more details on that as we get closer. But I hope that at the very least, you got a ton of value out of today's class, and we do have time for some questions. So,
and Emily, I just want to point out that we've added this mastermind because the feedback we've gotten from FSBO Fortune in the past is they want to learn all this stuff, but then they want to role play specific situations. They'd love to even hear actual calls that you're making and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we've added this mastermind. But the mastermind doesn't work if you haven't taken the course. So that's why that's a prerequisite. So that the mastermind that starts in February will be open only to those who have completed FSBO Fortune. So any previous graduate or anyone who takes it this round. So I just want to point that out. This is an opportunity to learn Emily's system that is, I don't know, you listed 164 sale by owners. And everyone wants to know, how many did you sell in 2023? No, she sold enough that she took the whole year off. Right?
Yeah.
But she said, I got to take a break, and took the whole year off and drove around the country in an RV with her husband because she'd sold so many damn houses. So take her class. Period. The end. Take the class. All right, Emily, I know people probably have questions for you, and you're going to take about 5 minutes for some Q&A. Is that right, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So raise your digital hand if you have one, and we'll call on you. Do you have a follow-up question, something maybe you asked in the chat? But raise your digital hand, and now's your chance to ask the queen of the for sale by owners what to do. Go ahead, Deborah.
All right, Deborah.
Hi. So this was great, by the way. My question to you is, which platform do you use to find FSBO mostly? Is it Zillow, or is there's like FSBOs.com or?
Yeah, so I use Redex now. They source the leads, and there's an option to check them against a do not call list, which obviously we need to do. So that's how I typically will do them. But again, there was a large port when I first started, and I didn't want to invest in Redex. I just found them on Zillow. You can go to Zillow, search under more, and there's a line that says it's like by agent and then other, and you'll go down and toggle and click for sale by owner homes, and that's how you can find them for free.
And
And
you do have to scrub them against DNC. Some people think, Emily,
Yes.
just because they're a FSBO, that DNC doesn't apply. That's not true. I mean, so you do have to scrub against the do not call list.
and,
Yes.
and my second question is, if your market center doesn't offer a do not call list, where do you get that list? Is
Well,
there-
anyone can get the do not call list. You can download it yourself from
Oh.
FTC's website. So just go find but also remember that you likely have a state list in addition to a federal list, and you're going to have to check both. But your broker should be able to point you in the right direction. And there is no cost to download the do not call list. That's provided to you from the government at no charge.
Okay, thank you so much.
Shannon.
You're welcome.
Hello, yes, I had a couple questions. I put them in the chat. It has to do with follow-up. I have a tendency for people, they love to set appointments with me, but they also love to cancel and no show. And so where do you take a FSBO in terms of follow-up in two directions? When you pre-qual them and for whatever reason, meeting doesn't seem to make sense, where do you take them for follow-up? And secondly, even if you do pre-qual them and they no show or cancel on you, what are the next steps in follow-up?
Yeah, so I typically, if there's some reason that they're not, that it doesn't seem like a good appointment, maybe they're unrealistic about their price, I'm going to just continue to put them on my follow-up plan, which is a lot of video. And it's, it's past client testimonials, it's tips and tricks for them, it's all kinds of stuff. It's a video, every 2 to 3 days. And just continue to call them as well. And I will find that a lot of times they become a little bit more realistic as days on market starts to increase. And then with people, I used to occasionally get no-shows. I really don't anymore. And I think it's just because of a skill that I've developed to really determine like what is a solid appointment. And, I always text them the morning of a video before I go on the appointment. That's like, hey, it's Emily Peckham. I'm super excited to meet with you. I'll see you at 3 o'clock. If I don't get a response from that, then I'm probably going to pick up the phone and call them and just make sure. I never confirm appointments though. I am always saying, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock this afternoon, because I don't want to give them an out by asking them if we're still on for 3 o'clock. Again, like I, talked about, I'm sending them a calendar invite. I'm sending them so much communication, a pre-listing presentation. I've pre-qualified them. But typically, I just don't really get no-shows anymore because they are pretty sticky appointments.
Good stuff. All right, Paige, you're going to get the last question. Sorry, Kay, Susie, and Jay, but we're running out on time. So, Paige, you get the last one.
So thank you so much. Emily,
You must have dressed like this.
you handled an objection. I have a friend in the business, and you said something like, this is business. You owe your friend love or friendship. You owe me nothing. I don't remember. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you don't owe me anything. You owe your friend your friendship. And most importantly, you owe yourself the very best. So would it hurt to sit down for just 15 or 20 minutes and I can show you why so many people choose me in comparison to any other agent to sell their homes? I've got availability at 4:30 or 6, which is better for you.
Thank you.
That's an adaptation of Diana's script from Bold. I think you've done a really great job, Emily, about finding the baseline of a system and then evolving it to work for you. What would you say quickly is the biggest mistake agents make when it comes to pursuing for sale by owners?
Stopping calling them after, a week or 2 weeks. They don't do it long enough to start to see results and they assume that it doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I called FSBOs when I was in production as well, and it is a last one standing, right? Last one standing who adds the most value. We talk about it. You got to be consistent and valuable at the same time. Consistency without value is annoying. Value without consistency is anonymous. And so, there was some stuff in the chat. Somebody got wound up about, well, if you call every day, that's a way to get cussed out. Well, not if you're kind and smiling and a value to people. Then you're building relationship is what that is. I mean, I talk to my wife every day. She doesn't cuss me out. So it's about adding value and staying in a flow. Last question before we kick it. Someone who's on the fence as to whether or not they should take this, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell you that if you know that you are going to sign up for this class and you are going to be committed to taking action, if you implement what you learn in this class, you have the ability to blow up your business and list as many for sale by owners as you possibly as you want to.
Yeah, the
But
system
if
works.
you're someone who's going to take the class and you know that you're not going to implement it, then I would say save your money. But there has been so many people that have taken this class that are, you know, changing the trajectory of their business by adding multiple listings to their pipeline every single month. And with what you will learn, there is absolutely zero reason that you cannot do that as well.
Link is in the chat to sign up for the full class. You can also scan the QR code. And you can, Debbie, you can sign up all the way through after it starts, right? That you'll have access to it at any time. We don't have a current date. Some people are saying will it be offered again. We don't have a current date to do it. And if we do, you're probably looking at the summer before we would offer it live again. So I'd recommend take it now. Enroll in it now. You have lifetime access to the videos. Then it gets you into the 3-month mastermind, which I'm really excited about. Emily and I have been talking about this for probably a year to add this piece of it to it, and we're excited about doing that. My favorite question, Emily, that people ask in 2025, do you want to know what it is?
Sure, I'd love to.
Will this be recorded, and do we get a copy of the recording? That's my favorite question people are asking in 2025. And the answer, of course, is yes and yes. So we will email the recording of this out to everyone, but it's also been live streamed inside of Pivot Shift Ahead. So you have, as soon as we sign off the Zoom, you'll have access to the recording as well. Emily, thank you. I appreciate you. Well done.
Thanks,
Everyone
Jim.
else, we'll see you next week in FSBO Fortune. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
All right, thank you. See y'all soon.